Did you always know you were going to go into this business?
No, I wanted to be a baseball player.
That was no childhood fantasy. Trump was a star player at the New York Military Academy.
I was captain of the baseball team. I was supposed to be a professional baseball player. Fortunately, I decided to go into real estate instead.
Hello everyone, welcome back to The Hidden Truth. If you enjoy uncovering hidden stories, breaking news, and fascinating facts, and turn on notifications, thank you for your amazing support late.
Donald Trump has repeated the same story for decades. According to him, he wasn't just a decent baseball player. He says he captained his team, stood out as the top player in all of New York State, and even had the talent to play professional baseball if he had not chosen the family real estate business instead. It is a claim he has brought up again and again over the years, presenting it as proof that he could have taken an entirely different path if life had unfolded another way.
I went to military academy, New York Military Academy, for 5 years, from the year before freshman.
So 8th grade on?
Yes.
Whose idea was this?
Well, I was very rebellious, and my parents thought it would be a good idea, because I was very rebellious.
Right.
I love to fight. I always love to fight.
Physical fights?
Yeah, all kinds of fights. Physical,
arguments?
All types of fights. Any kind of fight, I loved it, including physical. And I was always the best athlete, something that nobody knew about me. But one guy you should speak to before it's too late, because he's a pretty old guy now, is Major DeBias. Because he said, you know, he coached for many years, like 35 years. He said Donald Trump was the best athlete I've ever coached. Donald Trump was the best baseball player I've ever coached. So, you know, just something good.
When did you know that you were good?
Get them DeBias's. I always knew I was good. I was always good. I was always the best athlete.
Like in first grade, if the kids had a game.
From before first grade.
Every night before bed, he takes the Bible from his nightstand, it burns his hand, and he goes back to sleep.
And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them and served them. Therefore has he brought all this evil upon them.
Said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in one day. He said he's going to release his tax returns, the new healthcare plan, the wall, Greenland. This is a man whose word is as good as the gold commode he sits in. The man who actually dodged the draft to stay out of Vietnam, who got a note from a podiatrist that rented office space from his dad to claim he had bone spurs, even though he was on the football, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams at the military academy his parents sent him to. Had a young Donald Trump not sustained that incredibly well-timed boo-boo on his foot, not only would he have fought in the war in Vietnam, he would have risen straight to the top and won it very quickly for the United States. And if he had been captain of the Titanic, Leo DiCaprio would be alive today.
Jimmy Kimmel then walks on stage holding a collection of 13 old newspaper box scores covering the years from 1959 through 1964. These are not rumors or secondhand stories. They are the recorded results from every game researchers were able to find that Donald Trump actually played. The timeline begins in 1959, when Fred Trump enrolled his son at the New York Military Academy after concerns over switchblades, classroom fights, and other disciplinary issues convinced him that a stricter environment might help bring more structure into Donald's life.
Trump was a star player at the New York Military Academy.
I was supposed to be a professional baseball player. Fortunately, I decided to go into real estate instead.
Wrong. Donald Trump was not a good baseball player. Jake Tapper did not do the fact checking that was necessary for that story, because it turns out if you look at Donald Trump's stats, he was actually pretty bad. So Slate has managed to unearth 9 box scores from Trump's time at New York Military Academy, which showed a 4 for 29 batting record in his sophomore, junior, and senior seasons, with 3 runs batted in and a single run scored. So not a big deal. I talked to my husband about what all this means, and it's really bad. Okay, I'm not like a baseball genius, but that's not a good batting score. Also, Trump's batting average in the 9 games Slate found box scores for stood at a disappointing 138.
138 is miserable. So one writer described his school as a podunk school, not known for baseball, and not the school overall, but the athletic component of it.
Kimmel starts with the earliest records. During Trump's sophomore season, researchers found just 3 recorded games, and the numbers immediately stand out. Across 10 official at-bats, there was not a single hit. He then moves through the junior season before reaching the senior year. The same year, Trump has described himself as the best baseball player in the entire state of New York. Laying every box score side by side, Kimmel points to the results. In those 8 senior season games, Trump recorded just 1 hit in 21 at-bats, leaving him with a batting average of .472. Anyone who followed local baseball box scores during that era already understands what a number like that would usually signal to a coach. It was not the kind of performance that earned more playing time. Looking across the 9 games where complete records were available, researchers calculated an overall batting average of 38. One former Major League scout who reviewed the statistics reportedly gave a direct assessment, saying those figures did not resemble the record of a professional prospect, but instead looked more like the performance of a reserve player on a struggling school team. Kimmel also examined newspaper coverage from those same seasons and found that Trump's name never appeared in the written game stories. It showed up only in the box score listings. Before continuing, he pauses to ask viewers to subscribe, saying it takes only a couple of seconds and helps support the work behind digging through records like these. Then he returns to the documents. The final stretch still shows 1 hit in his last 21 at-bats, with no mention in any game recap beyond the statistical line. He invites viewers who remember following baseball during that period to share what a .47 average would have meant on their own teams. The contrast is the point. Trump has continued repeating the claim, even in recent years, that he could have played professional baseball. Yet the newspaper records remain spread across the desk, and page 13 still displays the 47 figure. The numbers have not changed. The focus stays on the documents, tracing each page carefully and examining the recurring pattern one record at a time.
1968, he was fresh out of University of Pennsylvania with the Wharton program, and here he is. It's a big point in the Vietnam War, and he was that summer after graduation, he was declared available for service. Called to get his exam done, and at that point, what the records show and what the history shows is that he was ultimately given a medical exemption, a temporary medical exemption, and that's where my reporting kind of picked up, was trying to sort of delve into the history of that.
While attending the University of Pennsylvania's prestigious Wharton School of Finance, Mr. Trump received a minor medical deferment for bone spurs on both heels of his feet. The medical deferment was expected to be short-term, and he was therefore entered in the military draft lottery, where he received an extremely high number, 356 out of 365.
Another chapter of the story shifts away from baseball and toward the Vietnam era. In 1968, when the military draft was at its peak, 22-year-old Donald Trump received a diagnosis of bone spurs in his heels. That medical finding became his 5th draft deferment. The previous 4 had been granted while he was in school, and this final medical deferment meant he was not required to serve in Vietnam, keeping him entirely out of military service during the war.
Well, it looks like the most obvious thing in the world has been pretty much confirmed.
Samuel L. Jackson is holding the doctor's own family's account of exactly how that diagnosis happened.
Trump didn't actually have bone spurs that prevented him from fighting in Vietnam. Looks like it was just his privilege. Sad. The daughters of a Queens foot doctor say their late father diagnosed President Donald Trump with bone spurs to help him avoid the Vietnam War draft as a favor to his father, Fred Trump, according to a new report Wednesday. Dr. Larry Braunstein, a podiatrist who died in 2007, rented his office in Jamaica, Queens from Fred Trump in the 1960s, the Times reported, citing records. His 2 daughters told the Times that their father provided the diagnosis of bone spurs as a courtesy to the elder Trump. "I know it was a favor," Elisa Braunstein told a newspaper, who added that the small favor got her father access to Fred Trump. "If there was anything wrong in the building, my dad would call and Fred Trump would take care of it immediately," she told the Times. Trading favors for access. Sounds like he passed down those lessons to his son, as well as, the whole tax evasion, money laundering, fraud, shell companies, and shady real estate deals. Oh, yeah, and the racism too. But of course, Donald Trump in the past has said that his bone spurs were fake news, so let's hear him out. "I had a doctor that gave me a letter, a very strong letter on the heels," Mr. Trump said in a 2016 interview with the New York Times. In the same interview, he couldn't remember which heel he had the spurs in, so his campaign just said he had them in both. Yikes. A very strong letter on the heels. Well, that does it then. I'm convinced. In all seriousness, I'm a principled leftist. I don't have a problem with Americans who sought to draft dodge in Vietnam. The war was an atrocity, and I believe Muhammad Ali, for example, was an American hero for his dodging and activism. But Trump was nothing of the sort. He was not a conscientious objector to the war. He was just a privileged liar whose father was already salarying him to the tune of nearly $1 million, and who was taught this lesson at a young age. Cheaters win.
Samuel L. Jackson then introduces another piece of the discussion by referring to accounts from the family of the doctor connected to that diagnosis. Rather than relying on rumor or speculation, he focuses on what the physician's own relatives later said about how the bone spur diagnosis came to be and why their recollections have remained part of the public conversation surrounding Trump's draft deferment.
I like people who aren't amoral grifters who, despite all facts and logic after a school shooting, make claims like this.
I got to watch some deputy sheriffs performing this weekend. They weren't exactly Medal of Honor winners. I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon.
That kind of attitude of entitlement and selfishness is not going unnoticed by our military men and women. His approval rating amongst military members has dipped steadily since he was first elected, and his disapproval has increased. And it isn't helping that he refuses to do even the symbolic commander-in-chief things like visit the troops on Christmas. This is why Trump's draft dodging shouldn't be discussed in the framework of cowardice.
The pediatrist involved was Dr. Larry Bronstein, whose medical office operated in the building owned by Fred Trump in Queens. Years later, after Dr. Bronstein passed away in 2007, his daughters spoke with the New York Times and shared stories about what their father had told them regarding Donald Trump's bone spur diagnosis. Their account added another layer to a subject that has continued to draw attention, raising fresh questions about the circumstances surrounding the medical exemption and how it was obtained.
For anyone who lived through the draft years of 1968, the situation hardly needs much explanation. Those were years when a single connection could sometimes make an enormous difference, especially if someone with influence was able to help. Reports have also suggested that another podiatrist, Dr. Manny Weinstein, may have played some role after moving into a Fred Trump-owned apartment during that same period. Even so, no one has ever produced the original medical documents connected to the diagnosis. Jackson then points to Trump's own comments from 2016 when he said he could no longer remember the doctor's name, but described the medical letter as, in his words, very strong. Before continuing, viewers are encouraged to subscribe, with a reminder that their support helps uncover records like these. Returning to the evidence, the discussion centers on a doctor who practiced in a building owned by Fred Trump, a medical letter that has never been publicly located, and questions that have remained unanswered for decades. Jackson invites viewers who remember that era to reflect on what such connections could mean for someone whose father owned property and had established relationships. Trump has consistently referred to the matter as a legitimate medical diagnosis, while Dr. Bronstein's daughters described it as a favor arranged through his father. Trump has never publicly identified the doctor by name on his own, and the letter he described has never surfaced. The file remains open on the desk, with the word favor still circled, as the investigation returns once again to the available records, reviewing each document carefully and following the evidence wherever it leads.